We've been told by Toby Fox himself, by the characters, and by the story that Deltarune will only have one ending. But here's my theory. That might not actually be true. And if it changes, it won't be because of us, the player. It'll be because of the true protagonist of this story, Susie. This isn't just a painting of our favorite purple menace. This is a theory about why her unchanging authenticity might be the very thing that changes the predetermined fate of Deltarune. If we look at its predecessor, Undertale, you are the protagonist, and the characters, the world, and the outcome change based on your benevolent or malevolent actions. You have full control over Frisk and by proxy, the story's ending. However, this is clearly not Undertale. Let's start with a quick definition. Authenticity means staying true to your own personality and character. In Deltarune, authenticity shows up in very different ways for our three heroes. Ralsei represents conformity to the predetermined story, Susie represents unchanging authenticity, and Kris represents inauthenticity, at least for now. Despite this being a Susie commentary, let's start with Ralsei, a character who has absolutely no knowledge of their prior existence. Ralsei plays the role of a reluctant prophet, someone who knows the story's end and is desperately trying to veer it off course. In Chapter 1, he tries to change Susie, to make her less violent and more pacifistic so that this horrific prophecy doesn't come to pass. During the boss fight with Gerson, he recounts the Lord of the Hammer. The story was so powerful that it overtook the author and was forced onto the next generation. A story so daunting that it couldn't possibly be given an ending within his lifetime. In Chapter 1, you are supposed to defeat the dragon. You can't control the dragon from the start of the game, and to some degree, you still can't. Susie will not let you equip ribbons or remove armors, and she is constantly undermining you through very clever game mechanics. Susie, quite literally, cannot and will not be tamed. Nowadays, humans may or may not believe that we seek change, but physically through time, we are all creatures of evolution. You are physically forced to change from infant to adult regardless of your input. Change is inevitable, and it can be scary. But no matter how hard we try, it's not something you can control. So what better foil for this passive goat boy than a very aggressive mean girl who demands that things don't change? When it comes to Susie, some people think she changes a lot from Chapter 1 to later chapters. But I don't think she changes at all. Rather, she's revealing her true self. At the start, she's seen as the misunderstood bully. She's defensive, hurt others before they hurt you kind of type. Her arc with Lancer taught her that her brutish tactics don't always work, and presumably for the first time, she was forced to attempt a softer approach. Only after Kris risks their life for her with the king does she begin to let her guard down. Not because she's becoming someone else, but because she's letting Kris and us, the player, in. She's the singular constant in a story where everything else is shifting, and that makes her dangerous to the prophecy. Susie is a beautifully flawed character, and sadly, she has expressed to us that she is not fond of herself. She still sees herself as bad, and the worst part, many monsters still do. Only after she's allowed us to see her most vulnerable self do we see the full picture that is Susie. She knows she's flawed, and she's been conditioned to believe that she's not good enough to carry this story. Despite her nonchalant reaction at the end of Chapter 4, she's most likely more worried about the prophecy than anyone. Because if anything goes wrong, it will somehow be her fault. How relatable is that? Raise your hand if you've ever felt like an outcast, invisible, or no one could ever love the real you. Raise his hand. Now, keep your hands up if you love Susie. Hands still up. How many people out there at some point said, "Oh my God, Susie is me"? I think we can all agree that her flaws are the best parts of her. She is imperfectly perfect. exactly the way she is, because she is herself. And because she allowed us in, she finally found her flock. The reason we adore her so much is, unlike some of us, she's not afraid to let that weird side show anymore. Not everyone will accept your authentic self, but someone will. And for that reason, I have to talk about Kris. Unlike Susie, who knows exactly who she is, Kris isn't allowed to be themselves. We, the player, are robbing almost every decision they make. In that way, Kris is the opposite of Susie. Through anecdotes, we are given pieces of who Kris is. This mysterious prankster that hid under the bed to scare Noelle, putting ketchup on their arms to freak her out, and faking, and or not faking, carrying a soul around to spook her. On the flip side, Noelle, being the recipient of most of Kris's actions, knows Kris the best and is the key to understanding the authentic Kris. Despite the person that we know Kris to be, they have no agency or say in any of their life. Though we may get fleeting moments of their character slipping through, they have to forcibly rip out this alien persona to get any semblance of freedom. They need someone who was authentically themselves to show them how to live outside of control. And Kris most likely craves the freedom that Susie embodies. Yes, I ship KRUSIE, but it runs deeper than that. Kris needs Susie's authenticity, and Susie needs Kris's acceptance. Where Kris and the soul have a very parasitic relationship, Kris and Susie symbiotically need each other for survival. Going back to Susie, I don't think we'll ever get a proper backstory for her, and frankly, that's fine with me. The way Toby writes, we are alluded to lots of facts through other characters' interactions. I think a lot of people want one, but do we really need one? This isn't a story that hinges upon one's beginning, but rather one's ending. We may not be told verbatim the trauma she's experienced or the reason she roams the streets, but we know who she is and what she wants. For every day to be exactly the same as the last, within this safe pocket of time where she finally has a place to belong. Her wants and needs come across clear as day. Who she used to be is not important. Who she is now is more paramount to the story Toby is trying to tell. The End of Deltarune is a little pensive. There is a slight fear in the fandom that Susie may not accept Kris once the truth's out. That the person they've come to know was not in control of themselves this entire time. She explains in Chapter 3 that she doesn't like people who don't give her the whole deal. However, if there's one thing we know about Toby Fox, he always puts his characters first. We may be parading Kris's body around, but we're not the ones howling at the lake. We're not drawing pictures on the diner window or thrusting ourselves in harm's way for her. That's Kris, the real Kris. Rather than seeing a falling out, I see Susie potentially sacrificing herself to free Kris from us, the player. She may not survive the end of this story, but she is in control of it, and that is her decision to make. So, no, Susie hasn't changed. She's just let us see who she's always been. And in a game where the ending is supposedly set in stone, that kind of authenticity might just be the most dangerous thing of all. I know I'm a bit late to all the theory crafting, so apologies if this has already been said, but regardless, I appreciate you listening to my take while I stewed on these thoughts. If you want to see this artwork without me rambling, there's a no commentary version with separate music linked in the description. I also stream Anatomy every Sunday at 3 p.m, so come nerd out if you want a study buddy. And lastly, if you like this piece, you can grab the print on Etsy, link in the description. Thanks for watching, lovelies. And to all my Susies out there, myself included, I love you so much. And I hope you can learn to love the beautiful mess you are too someday. For now, PLD. Keep playing, keep loving, and keep dreaming. And as always, I'll be with you in the dark. See you next time.